Good morning and once again welcome back to the Python class. The last time I took you through the data types of numbers. So we learned about the float, the integer, and so on and so forth. Today we are coming to put those data types into practice in this practical session. So we will take inputs in the form of numbers, then we will output numbers. So that we will build a basic calculator where we can ask users for numbers, select their operating sign, then perform whatever calculations they want to perform. Without wasting much time, we will start. So this program we are coming to build is to add two numbers in Python. How to add two numbers in Python. So first we will declare space for them. For number one, we will say 4. Say 8. So what we've done here is we have actually given them, assigned them numbers. So the numbers we are going to perform on them. So memory space number one contains 4, number two contains 8. Then you come and define a memory space which is going to keep their solution together. So you define sum should be equal to number one plus and number two. And we will try and print our results. So basically, you can just see the sum and so what I've done here means so the sum of the memory space 0 and memory space 1. So memory space 0 is this one here, memory space 2, memory space 1. So here is memory space 0, memory space 1, and memory space 2. So the sum of this is this. The sum of this is this. So let's call the sum. Right, let's run our code. Okay, now you can see down here it says the sum of 4 and 8 is 12. So the sum of 4 and 8. So as we printed here, the sum of memory space 0, that's the 4, and memory space 1, that's the 8, is memory space 2, and that's the sum here. Then we call them and say the sum of 4 and 8 is 12. We can do same for multiplication, where we can use the product. We can use the product. So here we are calling two numbers the product of the two numbers. So product should be equal to the memory space 1 times the memory space 2. should give us the product of these numbers. So we say product. So memory space 1, we have assigned it 4. Memory space 2 is 8. Then we are saying, in fact, the product of memory space 1 and memory space 2. So the product of this, when you say product multiplication of this, should be called the product. Then we are calling it at the parentheses. So we are saying the product of memory space 0. Memory space 0 is here. We've assigned the memory space 0 to 4. Memory space 1 is here. Then memory space 2, that's the product, is this and this. Then we call them, we run them. So we can see the product of 4 and 8 is 32. Very simple um, addition of two numbers or multiplication of two numbers. Now let's do the subtraction of two numbers in Python. So we go to our memory space. We see, so 6 memory space 0 represented by a function num 1. The memory space, let's say 9. Then we are saying sub. So the difference between the memory space 0 and memory space 2 should be stored here. Therefore, we came to print the difference of memory space 0 and 1 is 2. So we call them here, then we run our code. So you can see the difference of 6 and 9 is 3. Is any question so far? Right. Now we are going to build a calculator in Python whereby we can give our users an option to input their numbers, select which operator they can use to actually perform their operating their calculations, then it will give them their answer. Right, so we will start. Now we will define which operators do we want in our calculator. So basically, let's say we will need addition. So add, we will need subtract. We will also need multiply. Then finally, let's bring the division sign, divide. So these four, we are going to need them in our calculator so that the person can choose the preference and make his or her calculations on it. So we will first start by defining each of them. So we will say, we will bring an hash, that's a comment, that to an hash. Then we will say this function. So this function adds two numbers. So our first function will add two numbers. Now let's call it the addition. So we will say define, we are defining addition, add. Add should be, let's say, two numbers, x and y. Now in the x and y, what do we want it to do? It should return x plus y. Simple as that. Don't forget to bring your column. Now, what this means here is we are building a calculator, a multifunction calculator, whereby the user is able to input numbers and select which operator he or she wants. Right. Now, before we can do that, we need to define each of the operators. So we are starting with the addition sign. We call the add, that's the addition sign, and define it. So let's say in addition, we said, let's say in definition here, we define add like, let's say two numbers. You take two numbers from the user. Now, what should we expect? We should expect that the two numbers we've taken and the person, when the person chooses addition, should return the x plus the y. So any two numbers the person takes and the person chooses the operator addition, it should sum them up together. So here we are done with the addition. Now let's move on quickly to the subtraction. Let's define. So we will define for each of them. So let's say this function subtract two numbers. Now let's define it. In our definition, we are going to do the same thing for subtraction. So definition equal to subtract. Let's say two numbers x and y. Then we'll bring our colon. Then you will return x should be deducted from y. Simple as that. In the same way, we will do that for multiply. So you say this function multiply two numbers. I'm doing this way so that you can understand, so that those who are not joining us here and watching, they can also understand. So I'm explaining each of the function which it does. So this function add two numbers. So this function is responsible for any calculation or calculation that a user will select involving the plus sign. This is what it will do. It will add the numbers. This one involves when the user selects the subtraction sign, it will actually take the difference between the numbers. Now we are moving on to the multiplication one. That one we will define multiplication. We use the multiplication sign. So x, every time it's given that two numbers constant taken x and y, it should return x, where x is multiplying by. You use asterisk for the multiplying. Asterisk is multiplying. Right. This one too, we are done. Please, any questions so far? Now we will move on with the addition one. So the addition one, we will do the same thing where this function divides two numbers. So you define it. Addition should be equal to x and y. And in x and y, it should return. Let's bring our column. It should return, in fact, x slash slash y. So x slash y for us. Now we are done with the definition of all our. We are done. So Here's our definition for the four major operators we would want to give to our users to use. So one, addition; two, subtraction; three, multiplication; and four, division. So the person will get the opportunity or the chance to choose any operator he or she wants to perform with our calculator. Right, now that we have finished defining the operators, the next thing we are going to move on is we are going to give the user a permission. Now you bear to the fact that the first time we were doing Python, I took you through how to take input from a user, how to let someone input into your system and how to output to the person. Now we are going to the input part where we will display to the person or you give the person the options to select from there. Right. So we can say, okay, we will print an output. So when the user comes, we'll say, first thing we would ask the person is to select the operator he or she wants to use. He or she wants to use. Then we will print the operating sign for the person. So the first one, you can say 1. I use add to that. So then the next one too, we can make it 2, subtract. 3, multiply. 4, to divide. Now what this means here is after we finished defining our operators up here, we are giving the user an option whereby the user can choose from the operator he or she wants to perform the calculation with. So when a user comes to our calculator or our app, it will tell him or her to select operation. So they will select the operating sign. So 1 will mean addition, 2 will mean subtraction. They will be added to it. So 3, multiply; 4, divide. So that the person will know, okay, I'm coming to do some addition. So I'll select this, then I'll perform mine. The next thing we are going to do here is make how to make this output work. Now, when the operator comes right now and selects add, the person has just selected it. What is the algorithm behind these things that will make it work? That will trigger the add to add the two numbers. So that's what we are going to add right now, the algorithm. Now we are going to use a logical statement called wow, wow, wow. Now in this logical statement, we are going to make it to the user understand that while the user or to we are going to make our calculator understand that while the user chooses choice 1, you should take the two numbers and make addition, or else while the user chooses 2, you should go to the subtraction sign, perform this for us. Or when the user select 3, you should go to this one, the multiply one, and perform. Else perform the last one, that's the division for us. So that's the algorithm we are going to write for our system. So we will start while true, While it's true that the user is selecting an operator, so the choice the user will make here, so that's the input. Now the input says enter choice, where we are going to actually dedicate the choice for the person 2 or 3 or 4. We will actually show it to the person. So we are saying while we display this to the user, input any of the above choice, either 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are being specific so that the user won't go and type add or subtract or multiply or divide. We'll just press on 1, 2, or 3 or 4 so that it automatically picks it. So that's the meaning here. Enter choice. So here, let me comment here so that users can understand. So here we take input from user, from the user. So that's the meaning of this one. We are going to take input from the user. Now the next thing we are going to do is we are going to check if the choice the person made is one of the four options. So choice is one of the four the options we've actually. So here, what we are going to do here, this is the explanation. We are going to check if the choice, whatever the person will input here, is one of what we've defined here. We are going to check, put a check on it. Now, if choice, if the choice in, so we will come 1, 2, so we are bringing all what we define 4. Okay. Now, if the choice the person took is in the choices we've given 1, 2, 3, 4. If the choices taking input here is in this, then let's go. Try. If the person actually input what we are expecting, give the person a choice to 1, number 1. Number 1 means enter. So we are going to take a float since it can be any number. So input, and we say enter first number. Right. The meaning of this one here is now here we are saying take input from the first one. We've defined our operators here. Each one. So this one means this one means this one means this. Then we came here, the choices we are going to give or to output to our user. Then behind that, we are putting an algorithm there where we are saying while the input we are taking from the person should be the choices 1, 2, 3, 4 initial. So we say input, then we display to the person enter choice 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we will also check if the choice is one of the four options we've given to the person. If the person enters 5, which is not in this choice, our program won't work for him. Now, if the choice input is found among these, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, allow the person to enter the first number. of whatever numbers it's come to perform the calculation with. Again, find a place and allow the person again to enter the second number for input. So you enter the second number. No, we are taking two numbers. Okay, here we've given the person the choice. Saying the person made the right choice from the onset, it means our calculator can give him or her a go ahead, first or second. Now we are going to, what if the person, instead of the person choosing or entering a number, the person inputs a letter, we are going to catch that error. So you say except value error. So accept value error. You are going to make sure we put a check. So print invalid input. This we say please enter a number. Now we've given the person has made the choice from the onset. Select the operating sign. We've asked the person to make a choice. The person made a choice from this one. Now we've given the person a chance to enter the first number. The person enters the first number. We will give another chance to the person to enter the second number. The person enters the second number. But what if the person didn't enter a number but entered a letter or something which is not a number? We will say invalid input. Please enter a number because our program is concentrated in calculating numbers. So this is the error function here. So let me define it here. So taking wrong input from a user. Okay. Now here, this code actually checks wrong input from the user. If it is correct, if the person enters the correct thing, continue. You continue it. Then you come. If choice the person entered in the initial was 1, so remember 1 was 1 here. If the person entered 1, what should the program do? Okay, now if the person entered 1, print this for him. Print number 1, his first number, plus, let's put it in, plus the number 2, the second number. Both of them should be equal to add number 1 and 2. Okay, now the meaning of this. If the choice the person made here is 1, so here we are calling these functions here. If the choice the person made from here is 1, meaning refer back to this, add, then call this addition function for us, meaning add these two numbers. So the person's two numbers, the first number plus the second number the person input should be equal to this function here, add to the first number, the second number, as we define here, should be equal to that function here. So exactly the same, the add. So let's say x and y. Okay, let's continue. Is any question? Right. So make sure to bring, not to forget the colon, the comma, the comma, the comma. What if the person entered the second choice? So you bring L if choice, the choice the person made. So the choice is equal to what should happen. So if we can actually copy this, then you change this. Since the choice 2 is subtraction, so we bring the subtract. So num 2 subtract, so num 1 subtract num 2 should be equal to subtract as we define here. So subtract, not add, subtract. So subtract num 1 and 2. Right. So what we are doing here is we are implementing these functions in the same. So you can see the definition, add x and x comma y. So we definition add x comma y. So we are implementing the definitions we made from our onset. Okay, now let's move to the second one, the third one, the third choice. If I leave, that's the third choice, is equal to double equal to, it's a double equal to. Okay. Elif is third, so the third one, bring our column. Then print, so let's copy this, so we'll make changes. So what did we say? Multiply. So we are going to multiply by bring the sign here, multiply. Right. What if the person chooses the last one? So we will bring another if choice, as the choice the person made, is 4. Then we will bring the same to the division by. So we are done with the definition of these. So add, subtract, multiply, divide. So add, subtract, multiply, divide. Please make sure the signs correspond. Add, subtract, multiply, then divide. So let me define this here. Implementing the operation science. So that's what's doing here. I'm implementing the operation science. Okay, now the next thing is we will check if the user wants another calculation after performing this. If the user still wants to continue performing or not, so that our program won't automatically. So we will check if the user wants another calculation here. Then before we will break the whole cycle, so we will break the cycle here. If the user says no, give us a no. So these are comments. That's explaining what we are going to do next. Okay, we'll bring next calculation. So next calculation. We got input. Let's do next. So this one is when the user has finished performing and the user wants to continue without the user needing to actually rerun the whole program again. For our program, we are designing our program in such a way to give another option if the user wants to continue performing calculation or continue using our program. Let's do next calculation. So the user can say yes and type yes or no for us. Calculation is no. You will break it. That's if the user says no, you will break it. Else you will print invalid input. Right. Let me explain this. Okay. Now here was implementing our science. So let me start the whole again. We are building a calculator that's actually multifunction. Now it's going to help us. Our calculator is going to help us to actually enable a user select the sign he or she wants in performing the calculations. One, able to input two numbers which will aid the calculation or which will make the calculation runs. Now we first defined the operators we are going to use in our operating. Add and we defined it. Subtract, we defined it. Multiply, we defined it. Divide, we defined it. After that, we actually gave the user an output option. We actually gave the user an output option. So what this output option is doing is that it's actually, so it will pop up select operation, giving the user a choice to make. So the user is going to, so the user will know that if I select 1, it means add. If I select 2, it means subtract. If I select 3, it means multiply. If I select 4, it means divide. Okay. Now, while true, while we are taking the input from the user, so we are saying, we are implementing this, we are saying if the choice the user input between these, so we are checking the input. So here we are saying enter choice, either 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we are saying if the choice the user input in what we shown to the person is inside these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, then give the person another chance to enter his or her first number. So we give the chance 1, enter the first number, chance 2, enter the second number, chance 3, enter the chance to enter the second number. Right. Now, what if the choice the person made is not correct? So, what if the choice the person made is actually out of what we are expecting here? It's actually out of what we are expecting here. Meaning the person made a wrong choice. So maybe intentionally selected A or B instead of a number. We should tell the person it is a wrong input. Then we will tell the person to enter a number. Now we are implementing the operating sign we define up here. So we are implementing the operating sign we define up there. So we are saying if choice, if the choice the person took is actually 1, meaning go top here and take the definition of 1. The definition of 1 meaning add. Meaning add should be equal to x and y. X and y should return x plus y. So here it's saying x and y will be substituted as num1, num2. So here meaning num1, num2. So num1 plus num2, which bears the definition add x and y. So add num1, comma num2. Is any question so far? What if the person chooses 2? What if the person chooses 2? The recording stop. Let me do a share it again. That screen. What if the person in selects 2? Here, that is the 2. We will go here, x, y. So return x minus y. That's exactly that's what's defined here. So minus number. Now, if the person selects 3, this is what will happen. Exactly as we define the third and the fourth one, the divide or the division is this. Now we will check if the user wants to perform that let's do next calculation, yes or no. If the user wants to actually continue performing it and he says yes, our calculation will continue. The person to input another number and so on and so forth. If it says no, then that'll be the end for calculating. Now let's run our program and see if it's going to run. Let's go through if you've made any mistake. Right, let's run. So let's start debugging. Okay, now our program is running. It says select operation. Select operation. So let's say, so you can see here what we made. Enter choice 1, 2, 3, 4. So here we are being specific, telling the person to enter either 1, 2, 3, 4, not type add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So let's say I'm saying multiply, so 3. I'm entering. And I press enter. It says it gives me an option to enter the first number. Enter first number, so 89. Right. Press enter, enter second number. Say press enter. It says 89 times 2 is equal to 178. Our calculation is perfectly done. Now you see, it's asking us, let's do next calculation. If I say yes, it will tell me it will actually repeat itself. So you say enter a choice. So I'll say 2, enter first number, 90, enter second number, 56. Then 90 minus 56 is 34. Let's do next calculation so that we won't need to go and run again and come and do the next calculation. It will continue as a cycle as long as our user wants to continue. What if we say no? So no, then our calculating and our program life cycle ends. Perfect. Any question? Okay, so this is how you can use Python to build a calculator, uh, an app, a Python to build a calculator app, whereby you give the user an option to actually choose from the operators and enter a number and actually perform the calculation and give the person a chance to actually continue the calculation. It's very simple. Okay, so this is what we actually want to learn for today, how to use Python to build a simple calculator. So you can watch on this tutorial and build your own simple calculator. You can exchange the definition, you can make the plus come down or subtraction or any sign you want to use. You can add multiple options here. You can also bring multiple numbers here. So let's say 3 or 4 numbers. Then you will define them here too. Okay, no questions. Thank you for joining today's class. And next time we'll move to a new topic, strength. So this is the application of what we learned so far, the data types of numbers, and how to input and output in Python. So the data type we learn about numbers, and the numbers we've used the float here. We've also used the input and the print option, the output. Thank you for joining today's class.